All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into something really powerful and, honestly, often misunderstood, the law of assumption, based on the teachings of Neville Goddard. At its heart, it's a completely radical shift in how we see our reality and our own power to shape it.
So, let's just start with a question that gets right to the heart of this whole thing. Do you believe the world around you is something that happens to you, something you just have to react to, or is it something that happens from you, a direct creation of your own consciousness? Neville's entire philosophy really hangs on how you answered that.
Okay, so the first big idea, the foundation of it all, is this. Your imagination. It's not just for fun, it's not for daydreaming. According to this law, it is the one and only creative power. It is the very substance that your reality is actually made of.
I mean, just stop and think about what that really means. This isn't about praying to some force out there for help. The teaching is that the creative power of the universe, what so many people call God, is your own human imagination. The power isn't external, it's already inside you.
So, you might be wondering, okay, how does this actually work? Well, it all comes down to what Neville called a state of consciousness. Think of it like the mental house you live in. It's the inner identity you've agreed to be. Right now, are you living in the state of being wealthy or the state of wanting to be wealthy? Are you in the state of being loved or the state of seeking love? Your entire world is just a mirror, reflecting back the state you are consistently living in.
Now, that sounds pretty straightforward, right? But this is where almost everyone gets tripped up. They hear this, and they immediately start to try. They start forcing it, straining, using effort. And that's the single biggest misunderstanding of how this whole thing works.
And the reason we stumble is that we're always trying to make things happen from the outside in. Neville called this operating from the outer man. You know, the part of you that's totally ruled by your five senses, the part that sees roadblocks and believes in struggle. But the real creative power, that's the inner man, your imagination. And it doesn't know anything about effort. It only knows completion. It just assumes the end, and then it rests there.
Let me give you a really simple example. You could probably imagine finding a dime on the street pretty easily, right? It feels natural, believable, you don't really question it, so you just assume it. And then a few days later, there it is.
But now, try to imagine $1 million. Suddenly, a whole different part of you shows up, doesn't it? The outer man kicks in, the accountant, the skeptic, and he brings all his baggage with him, his doubts, his logic, his whole history of limitation. He starts asking, how? Where's it going to come from? Is that even possible for me?
And this is so important. The law itself doesn't see a difference. A dime, $1 million, it's all the same to the creative power. There's no such thing as big or small, hard or easy. The only difficulty, the only limitation exists right here in our own minds.
And that's exactly why trying so hard, striving, is the absolute enemy of creation. Every time you strain or try to force it, you're basically screaming to the universe that you don't have it. You're confessing that your desire is still separate from you. You're knocking on a door when you're already inside the house. Okay, so if forcing it and trying harder doesn't work, what does? Well, it all comes down to the core technique of this whole philosophy. Making a very simple but game-changing shift from thinking of your desire to thinking from it.
Neville had this brilliant analogy. Imagine you're in your apartment in New York, and you're dreaming of an ocean voyage. You're thinking of the goal. It's over there, in the future. But what if you close your eyes and you actually feel yourself on the deck of that ship? You feel the sea spray on your face. Now you're not just thinking about the ship, you're on it. You're thinking from it. And from that spot on the ship, your old apartment in New York, it's just a memory. That's the shift.
See, here's the thing. You're not actually creating something new from scratch. All of these possibilities, these states of consciousness, they already exist. Your job isn't to travel to a new reality. It's to awaken your identity in that reality. It's like returning to a home you just forgot you owned.
All right, let's bring this down to earth. How do you actually do this? How do you practice living from the end when your bills are due and your senses are telling you a different story? Well, Neville taught a few key techniques to make this a real, tangible practice.
Think of these as your imaginal toolkit. First up, the before-sleep method. As you're drifting off to sleep, don't just think about your dream house. Actually feel yourself lying in the bed in that house. Second, you got to revise your inner conversations. Your silent internal chatter is constantly creating your world. Stop rehearsing arguments and worries. Instead, have the conversations you would be having if your wish was already a reality. And third, the I remember when technique. Look at your current problem and say to yourself, you know, I remember when that used to be a problem. It instantly puts it in the past.
Okay, but let's be real. What about the #1 obstacle we all face? That little nagging voice in your head, doubt. The one that says, come on, this is nonsense, it's not working. What do you do when your reality seems to be screaming the exact opposite of what you're assuming?
Now, this is absolutely crucial. You do not fight the doubt. The moment you fight it, you give it energy, and you're back in a state of struggle. Instead, just see doubt for what it is. It's a notification. It's like a little alarm bell telling you you've just stepped out of the feeling of the end. That's all. You don't wrestle with it, you just notice it and gently guide yourself back to the feeling of the wish fulfilled.
And all of this, every technique, every idea, it all leads to one final, incredibly empowering realization about who you really are and your place in all this.
The world out there, it's just a mirror. That's it. It's not an active force with a will of its own. It's not creating your life for you, and it's not working against you. It's just a passive, perfectly faithful mirror.
And what does a mirror do? It can only show you the face you put in front of it. It has no choice. It has to reflect the state of consciousness that you are occupying, whether you chose that state on purpose or just fell into it by default. So that means everything you see right now, your bank balance, your job, your relationships, that's not you. That's just the reflection. It's the shadow that was cast by a former state of mind. Trying to change your life by manipulating the outside world is like trying to change your expression by polishing the mirror. It just doesn't work.
You are the one standing in front of the mirror. You are the imaginal cause of everything in your life. The power isn't some law that you use like a hammer. The law is just describing what you fundamentally are. You are the operant power.
So, if all of that is true, if your imagination really is the one and only creative power, and the world is just a reflection, then there's really only one question left to ask yourself, isn't there? What will you dare to assume? Because the only limit that has ever existed is the one you consent to be true.